Hello and welcome back to revise GCSEhistory.co.uk. This is the first video in the subtopic The Mormons, and in this video today we're going to be looking at who the Mormons were and what were their beliefs. Alright, so who were the Mormons? The Mormons are the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. You need to know that little definition there. The Mormons are the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. So the Mormon faith was started by Joseph Smith in the 1800s, so it's quite a recent faith. Joseph Smith claimed that he'd seen a vision of an angel. He claimed the angel told him to find some engraved golden plates hidden on a hillside, and Joseph Smith dug up the hillside and found these plates, and he translated what was written onto the plates, and the translations of all the stuff on the plates was published in the Book of Mormon in 1830. You need to know that date. The Book of Mormon told how Jesus has visited America after the resurrection, and also how the lost tribes of Israel had come to America, from which the Indians were descended. And if you want to know about the origins of the Mormon religion and Joseph Smith's vision and how it all started, it may sound silly, but I'd go and watch the South Park song on Joseph Smith, because that told me a lot about how the Mormon faith began. And there is a YouTube link to the song, but I've made it a bit easier for you guys. I've made a little tiny URL. So if you just type into your web browser tinyurl.com// Joseph Smith song, you'll be able to watch the South Park song of Joseph Smith, Joseph Smith and the origin of the Mormon faith. Unfortunately, I can't show it in the video due to copyright restrictions, but if you head to that URL, you should be able to watch it. And here's a little screenshot from the video there. It shows Joseph Smith having a vision from the angel. So that's how the Mormon faith began. So head over there and watch that video if you want to find out a bit more about the origins of the Mormon religion. So what are the religious beliefs of the Mormons? Well, the Mormons practice polygamy, and that's where a Mormon man could marry more than one wife. So a Mormon man would have several wives. I think Brigham Young, who's a Mormon leader we're going to be looking at a bit more soon, had something like 26 wives. The Mormons thought that they were God's chosen people and were superior to the Gentiles. Superior just means thought they were better than. So they thought they were God's chosen people and were superior to the Gentiles. The Gentiles are just the non-Mormons. Gentile is a word that the Mormons created, and it just means non-Mormons. That's all it means, the Gentiles. The Mormons also believed in racial equality, and they treated blacks and Indians as equals. This is quite unusual in the 1800s. Mormons were against drinking and gambling, and they believed that they had to make God's kingdom on earth. So here are just 5 points about the religious beliefs of the Mormons. I think it's important you do know that, because you could get quite a nice exam question saying something like, briefly describe the religious beliefs of the Mormons, and you'd just be able to write this stuff down. Alright, so why were the Mormons persecuted? Throughout this topic we're going to be exploring how the Mormons were persecuted when they lived in the East, and how they had to move from place to place because of religious persecution. So why exactly were they persecuted? Let's have a look at that first. Well, the Gentiles, and if we remember that's the non-Mormons, thought that polygamy, and polygamy is where a Mormon man would have more than one wife, thought polygamy was immoral, and were worried that it might lead to a growing number of the Mormons. So they thought polygamy was wrong, immoral, you should marry, there should be one man and one wife. A man shouldn't have lots of wives. They were also worried that polygamy would lead to growing numbers of the Mormons, and the Mormons would take over. So this can be explained because if a Mormon man, say, has more than one wife, he'll have more children than he will have than if he just has one wife. So if a Mormon man has 6 wives, he's going to have 6 lots of children, and those children are going to be Mormons. And the Gentiles worried that polygamy, men having lots of wives, would lead to them having lots of children, and that these children would be Mormon children, and the Mormons would eventually take over because of the growing numbers. Mormon efforts to convert people, so they tried to convert people a lot. raised fears of expansion and annoyed the Gentiles. They found it quite annoying. Some Mormons, a particular group called the Danites, attacked and robbed the Gentiles, so that caused Mormon fear. The Mormons also thought that they were the chosen ones of God, and this made them seem arrogant and annoyed the Gentiles. And overall, people were afraid of the large and growing numbers of the Mormons, and feared that they would take over. So they actually feared that that the Mormons would take over the government eventually. Alright, so quite a short video today. That's everything we need to cover. Here are just a few basic questions based on the knowledge we've looked at in today's video to check you've picked up all the key points. You may wish to pause the video here, scribble down some answers. If not, just carry on watching, we'll do them together. Alright, so the answers. Question 1. Who was the Mormon faith started by? It was started by Joseph Smith, and he wrote the Book of Mormon in 1830. Give 2 religious beliefs of the Mormons. Well, there's lots, but if we're just giving 2, practice polygamy, against drinking and gambling. You could have any from this slide we've just looked at. You might want to revisit that slide and see if your answers were valid. Again, so we'll just squeeze it in, drinking and gambling, a bit untidy there. What were the Mormons called that robbed and attacked the Gentiles? Well, there were a particular group of Mormons, and they were called the Danites. And what did non-Mormons think about polygamy? Well, firstly, they thought it was immoral. And they also worried it would lead to more Mormons, to overpopulation of Mormons. I'll just have to try and squeeze that in there. Alright, so that's the answers to these little questions. Thanks for watching this video today. I do hope you found it useful. If you have, head over to the website revisedgcsehistory.co to watch more revision videos very similar to this. Thanks for watching. See you soon.